I'm going to do a Shift A mesh, and I'm going to make a torus. And you can change the parameters of this as well. 48 segments, 12 minor segments. I'm going to try 16 and 6 because I'm going to subdivide this as well. Actually, you don't need to subdivide it because if you smooth this out, if you smooth the torus out, it should look pretty good, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to add a subdivision surface just because I like extremely high poly counts. And scale this down. And you know what I didn't do? I don't want it that thick. So I'm going to delete it. Create another one. Torus T. Is it the radius? No. Well, maybe. No. Minor radius. There we go. That's what I want. Okay. So that's kind of the basic shape I want it to look. So go back and then I can add my subdivision surface. And 2 is enough. Okay, and need it smooth. And what I'm going to do is create a mesh, do a cylinder, and go into my cylinders, and I need a lot more vertices than that. Make it at least a little bit round. And I want the top to be, well, in Blender, I mean, you can leave it as an N-gon, or you can use the original triangle fan type so you get your faces there. And I'm just going to move it to this area here. Before I do all that, though, I'm going to select this. And I want to move my 3D cursor to the middle of this geometry. So how you can do that, go over to your tools and go to origin. And origin to geometry. No. Actually, cursor to selected. There we go. I knew I'd get it. Okay, so now you have the 3D cursor in the middle of this selected torus. That way I can take this cylinder here. Oop. I forgot and left this on. See, I told you that would get you in trouble. Need that to be median point. Okay. Might as well do a save while I'm thinking about it. Let's just call this spaceship. Version 1. Save and save often. Okay, let me Control Z. Okay. See how the origin of this cylinder is in the wrong point? You can fix that by going up here, origin, and origin to geometry. Okay. Now if I scale it, it looks correct. And once something like that, I go in front view or side view, I can see I need to scale along the z-axis, SZ. Yes, something sort of like that. Actually, probably want the bottom part to be longer. So I'm just going to pull it in like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some kind of spokes on this wheel. And in order to do that, we're going to do a Shift A, go to Mesh and create a cylinder. And then immediately go hit your T key to go bring up the tools and go to your properties here. 32 vertices is okay. I mean, it probably doesn't need to be quite that high, but I do want it to be smooth. But the main thing I want you to do is go down to your cap field type and just choose nothing, because we don't need any end caps there. And I'm going to do an RX90 to rotate that. Go ahead and make it smooth and scale down. About right there, or maybe a little bit more. And then SY, scale along your y-axis. So you have something like that. Actually, I want to scale it down even a little bit more. SY. Okay. Now what we're going to do is take this and we're going to spin it. We're going to use the spin tool to spin it around here. And since we have our 3D cursor right in the center there, we can do that. And in order to do that, you need to go into the tab edit mode. But there's one important thing that you need to consider when you use the spin tool. And that is you need the scale to be a 1-to-1 scale. And you can check that by using your N key and looking at the information over here on it. Actually, we need to tab back into object mode to see it, but if you look at your scale, you'll see that the scale is not 1-to-1, it's different sizes. In order to fix that, just go down to Object. Actually, before I do that, let me show you what happens if we leave it that way, just in case this ever happens to you. I'm going to go ahead and use the spin tool, and the options for the spin is down here, and we want to use the duplicate, but as you can see, it is all over the place. That is not what we want at all. So I'm going to Control Z undo that. Go back in object mode. And let's go to Apply, Scale. And when we do that, you'll notice that the scale turns all to 1-to-1, which is what we want. Hit the N key to take away that menu. Go back into tab mode, and now let's do the spin tool. And you see something quite different. And come down to your properties, and what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. We're not going to let it just do a apply of the transform. So duplicate, and you see 9 duplicates there, and we're going to change the angle. So just drag this out, and it's going to be something more like that, but I don't need 9 of them, so I'm going to knock those down. Something like that. And if it doesn't line up right, you can always just kind of play around with your angle here to get it to look correct. And that's pretty close. Then, so we have this wheel that we're going to attach to the hatch door. But I don't want to have to try to move all these pieces, so I'm going to make them all one piece. And while I'm doing this, I want to smooth this out. Yeah, maybe. It looks kind of funny like that, doesn't it? And just shift select your other pieces here and do a Control J. And that makes it all one piece. I need to fix this cylinder right here. So we can do that. Just do a Control R, put a loop cut in there. And the back of it doesn't matter. In fact, we do not need these back faces. So choose faces, use the C tool, just select them, X, delete faces. Okay, so we have our wheel. Scale it down. And let's go back into full screen here. And move it into position. RY90, just try to get close to where it needs to be. And now we have to do a little bit of, I just did a Control 1 on the numpad to get the rear view. And I'm going to R rotate just to get it close to where it needs to be. Look at the top view, Z into the wireframe mode. just kind of get it in, trying to get it into the correct place here. S, scale it down to where size is more like what it should be. Like I said, this is freestyle for sure. Okay, and that's really still too big. Scale it down, and probably be in this area somewhere right here. Okay, so now we have our little wheel there to open the hatch, and really, to me, it needs some more details on this hatch. And you can feel free to add whatever details you want in there. I'll probably add some later. But as far as that goes, the ship is pretty much complete as far as the modeling part, unless you want to, add more features to it like I was talking about. And we do a render. This is kind of where we're at right now. In the next section, we're going to look at adding some materials to it before we do the texturing.